This is a second basement that was added on at some point in the house that I have purchased. As you can see right there, that is the main house's foundation wall happening. The primary suspect of all of this is that window right there is where water's coming in. And you can also see there's a crack in the foundation. You might not be able to see it, but there's a crack running along that wall that looks like water's coming in there as well. So this will be an interesting little investigation into what is happening. There is probably, as you can see the cinder blocks? That is the actual height of the water in this basement, which is not a good sign. That's a lot of water in one basement. But I think one of the problems is a lot of this is rainwater and it has nowhere to go. As you can see, they never put a floor drain in. So any water that accidentally got in here could never leave. So I'm assuming, because there's a ton of water. For this amount of water, if you have this much water in your basement, because you see up to the height of a cinder block, that's almost like, you're probably looking at a solid over 6 inches of water, standing water right now. If you have that much water in a basement, that is probably not it seeping through the walls. That's probably it coming in through, because that's a lot of water just to seep through concrete walls. Then you can see that these are not old styled walls. These are solid concrete walls. That window on the other side of the house is actually a little below ground level. So they brought the ground level to about where the bottom of that window is. So what's happening is that window is actually rusted completely out and water's pouring in. So, because that's why we think that's where the primary problem is that window, is because of how much water is in this basement. Because this is very abnormal for a basement to have, we're not just talking wet, we're talking like this is almost, I could put a fish to swim in this pool. So I wanted to show you guys on this side. This is the window I was showing in the basement. As you can see, the window, they put rock down, but the window is technically at ground level. So it's kind of, and this isn't very thick. Like, you know, this isn't, we're not talking about that this is a foot thick of rock. This is just rock on top of dirt. A very thin layer of rock. So this is probably the prime problem of all that water in the basement is that window right there. Because if we look up on the top here, there's no gutters. Gutters do a lot to keep water out of a basement. And in this scenario, because of how this window is, because those gutters put all that water right here, and as you look, this is actually the low point of the groundwork right here. So all that water, it's coming off the roof, comes down. So on this side of the house, if you go towards it, it goes, the hill kind of goes down. So the water that's coming off, it hits the ground and it flows this way just naturally. So naturally, a ton of water, when it's raining and pouring outside, it comes in and it gets set up against this window. And it just naturally seeps in because that window's all rotted out. As you can see, it's really badly rusted. And then possibly, depending, because that foundation crack is around this point right here. So that also could be another issue too, is all that water is just sitting right here and it's sitting up against that foundation when it just pours out here. And as you can see, if we look at the ground,